Listen, we're going down and down to the depth of deep of the king of the keys of the east and the west. Castle crowns, backs, east, gifts, fruit, steam on our chest. Oh my God, thanking Yahweh for another study session with scholars from the rock and the deep. What a blessing. Down, 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 deep, down, 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 deep, down, 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 deep, down, 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 deep, down, 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 deep, down, 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 deep,
Yes. Here we are again. Another episode in the deep. Man, we got our brother, Professor Joseph Komanen. We've also got my beautiful wife, my sister, Miss Sarah Ann Elizabeth. I'm calling her by her full name. Can you believe that? I'm not going to get in trouble, am I? No. Yeah, so we're here
that's
in the deep.
Say, really.
Yeah, that's it. So we give Yahweh praise. And I am hoping that everybody can hear, because here we are right now. We just mentioned this when we sat down to the desk and started the countdown. We are now 4 years out from our 2020 political episode.
Yes.
And we're here again, manning the deep table, asking Yahweh, what's going on with this U.S. election? What kind of secrets do you have for us? And what can we do to make sure that we are on target and on point with what's happening and with what's going to happen next week, Tuesday. So we are less than a week away from election.
Yes.
The last time we were less than a week away from election, and Yahweh spoke clearly from this desk. So we're anticipating that Yahweh will do the same in this episode. It's going to be short. It's going to be sweet. We're going to recap a lot of what we talked about in season 4. But as always, we're not alone. We're not alone in the ship. There are many hands on this deck that makes this show possible. So I want to give a round of applause to our tech team. We've got Sanal, who is our technical producer. She's making sure that the camera is great. Aaron is our audio engineer, making sure that the sound is great. So if the camera's looking funny or wonky, text us so we can let Sanal know. If you can't hear as well, text us and we'll let Aaron know to make sure that we keep everything in order. So you guys are fabulous. Thank you very much. And then we also have another round of helpers. Our digital team, digital tech team, which is spearheaded by Professor Komanen's beautiful wife, Nicolette Komanen. That's her right there in the middle. And then, of course, we also have his son. That's why his picture's on that side. That is Joseph Jr. And then this is not her daughter, but this is her mother. Yes, Mama Gigi. Yes, Gertrude Coverly. So they are here, and we're just coming together to make sure that what we do and what we say and what we offer here in the deep is cohesive, that it lines up with what Yahweh is saying, and we want to give him praise. Now, before we start anything, as always, we always want to enter into a time of worship, time of praise, a time of thanksgiving. Say has been doing such a fantastic, a marvelous job keeping us in that frame, that spirit of worship all year. Yes. All of season 4, she's produced beautiful music. So we have another song from Say that's going to be airing live for the first time from the Deep Ecclesia's Deep Dive Live session. So here it is.
I know someone who defies all odds. He is true and faithful. He's the God of gods. He can move the mountains from the raging seas. Remarkable. Omnipresent, powerful, supreme, all-knowing, King of kings, eternal, righteous God, holy, maker of everything, the only wise God. saber romper. He's the force, the strength, the power. No force of mental balance could stop it together. Nothing can stop it, no nothing, no way. All powerful.
Visit saysongs.com for more amazing and inspiring content.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful, what a powerful song.
Indeed.
That is awesome. Now, I played that when we did the 24-hour prayer, but I was on the desk by myself, so I didn't get an opportunity to explain, the meaning behind the song, where the song came from, when it was written. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
That's fine.
I mean, this is your content, so you should know it by heart, right? So please tell us, because I love that song. I love all of the songs, and it's like every time we produce one, it gets better and better. Tell us about that one, please.
Yeah, so that one was created in October of 2012.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was just a fun way of just exalting and adoring Yahweh. It's really an understatement. There's so much more to sing about Him and say about Him. So, yeah, that's really where it came from.
Wow, October of 20, that means that is about 12 years, almost to the day, because we're just in November 1st. So you almost made October made 12 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amen.
To Yahweh be all the glory, man.
Yes,
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Well, here we are right now. We are knee deep in election 2024.
Yes.
Knee deep in it, Professor Coleman, and knee deep in it, Madam Say.
Yes.
But before we get into the election information, there's some shout outs that we have to give, because we've been gone for, I want to say, 5 months.
Yes.
Almost 6 months. We signed off in June.
Yes.
And when we signed off in June, there was a lot of turmoil that hit in July, August, September, and October. People were texting me. They were like, hey, is the Deep going to comment on any of this stuff? And I was like, yes, we will when we come back on air. So there have been people who've been, wondering, what do we have to say, since a lot of stuff that we prophesied in season 4 have now come to pass. Where are we going for election 2024, and what does Yahweh have in store for 2025? But before we get to that, I also just want to send a quick few nudges to a few people on our list. One would be Dr. Leonard Culmer and Ramona Culmer, husband and wife team. They head up the name of their ministry is Scripture School. So they're on YouTube, they're on Facebook, they do a lot of great things. And Dr. Leonard, that is Sarah's uncle, Mama G's brother. And yes, they have now experienced, I think, 2 losses in the family on that Ramona's side. Plus, Sarah also experienced a loss in her family. Mama G's youngest sister, she passed during the summer. So our condolences go out to the Kamala family. She was also one who would come on the Deep Dive Live. And I spoke into her during the 24-hour prayer session. So that was very shocking that happened. But we give Yahweh praise because He knows all things. So please, heartfelt condolences to you all. We love you, and we're praying for you. I also want to send birthday shout outs to...
As well.
Oh, yes. Yes, I have her on my list. I'm so sorry, and I bypassed her. I'm so sorry. My dear cousin, my dear friend, yes, Miss Glinton. She is another one who participates and comes on. She lost her father, who was also a relative of mine. So condolences to the Glintons, condolences to the Grants. And we pray that Yahweh will give you peace and comfort during this time.
And Sherelle lost her aunt.
Yes, and that happened suddenly as well. Another one that I am hearing. So that's also condolences to the Dickinsons.
Yes.
My good brother Billy Dickinson, the assistant band director for the Grandmama segment of the Bahama Brass Band. My condolences to you and the Dickinson family. May Yahweh continue to bless you and keep you during these difficult times. Man, there's as I say, there's sorrow and there's celebration. Sometimes it happens all at once. So we thank Yahweh for the sorrowful times and the joyful times, because He keeps you in all of those moments. He keeps you in perfect peace.
Yes.
So we say condolences to you. Our hearts go out to you. We're praying for you that Yahweh will continue to guide you and protect you. And we also had some birthdays. We had our technical producer. She had a birthday way back in July.
Yeah.
You know, she's still celebrating. She's still celebrating. So,
It never stops.
it never stops, right?
Never stops.
Every 29th, she needs a gift. So we give Yahweh praise for you, Sada. Yes, and then we also had a shared birthday between myself and Aaron, our audio engineer, in September.
Yes.
So birthday shout out to you. September is a very busy month in my family, the Williams family.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very busy. So
Alicia was in September.
Alicia is also in September. That's right. But Shanika has the second half of the year on lock.
Yes.
So her birthday is in June, and then Eliana's birthday is in July, and then Lishi's birthday is in August, and then Licia's birthday is in September, and then Lainey just celebrated a birthday last week. So happy birthday, Lainey. Her birthday is in October, and then EJ's birthday is in November.
Yeah.
So they have that stacked.
Yes.
So every month it's just like, let me put $500 aside for a gift. Every month. Yes. And then, then January they start all over again. So that's the way it happens sometimes.
And then we had a double birthday in October.
We've got the double birthday
the
of
apostle and the
yes. So Aaron and I have a birthday on the same day. Joe and Joseph Jr. have a birthday in the same month. So yes. And they had a fantastic party that was hosted by none other than the lady who knows how to party, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nicolette Covenant.
Yes.
So that was wonderful, Joe. And I trust you enjoyed your birthday, man.
Yes, I indeed.
Joe said he's now coming around to celebrating birthdays. Before it was a little iffy, but now he's coming around to celebrating birthdays.
I'm being forced into.
That's right, you're being forced into it. And that's a wonderful thing. Sometimes you have to take them kicking and screaming. So this is one of those kicking and screaming moments that we take Joe. And I also want to send a shout out to Master Aaron, who he participated in. They call it the District C Teamship. So he was selected out of millions of students across the United States. In fact, when I met his teachers in July, I went to the school with Sanaa. At this point she was transitioning into high school, so they had a meet and greet. And the teacher walked up to me, she said, your son is fantastic. I said, yes, I know, he is. He gets it from his mom. So she said to Sanaa, you have big shoes to fill, because your brother, he has just blown all of his teachers away. And over the summer, they had all agreed that Aaron, he was going to be one of the 4 students from this school, would participate in this internship. It's a marketing internship. They take them under their wing for about a month. They have meetings like 3 times a week, 2-hour sessions, where they brainstorm, and then at the end of the whole thing, they present to a business. So he actually had to present ideas and strategies to a business to help them grow and improve. So he's doing at 16 what I started doing at 36. So that's phenomenal. And so at the end of it all, he received a certification for that. So Aaron, congratulations, man. Yahweh will continue to bless you.
Yes.
And he will continue to speak for you. That's awesome, man. Isn't that great when people can just speak on your behalf and can arrange things for your benefit without you knowing.
That's
Just
right.
because of the name that you created and generated. That's just how
Amen.
Yahweh works.
Yes, he
Yeah,
does.
so Yahweh is awesome. So, without further ado, are you guys ready? Are you ready to get into
Yes.
this? I know the people are ready.
Always.
Yeah, they're ready.
Yeah.
They're like, come
Yes,
on now.
we are ready.
We
We
came
ready.
here to hear about election 2024. Quit
Yes.
stalling. You guys are stalling because you don't know what's going to happen. Oh,
you have no clue.
you have no clue. You have no clue what's going to happen. Okay, well, without further ado, let's get into the meat and the potatoes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Deep Dive Live, hosted by your trusted Bible scholars, Joseph, Sarah, and LeBrons. We are diving deep into the US presidential election 2024, and we welcome you alongside us for the journey. Buckle up and get set as we go deep into the Word and the prophetic, with Yahweh as our source and guide. Are you ready? Let's go deep.
Wow, with
Yeah.
an introduction like that, you better be ready to go deep.
Yeah, man.
It's what they call it, sink or swim at this point, right?
Yeah.
So here we are. We are just 4 days out from the presidential election.
Yes.
This has been something that's been eye-opening. We've never seen this happen before in U.S. history. We've never seen so much money raised
Right.
in U.S. history. So,
Yeah.
but guess what? We talked about this all the way back in the beginning of season 4. So way back in January, we had Sarah who detailed for us this idea of a Maharanian candidate. So that's a term that we coined here in the deep. And some of you are wondering, because you probably didn't watch that episode, you're saying, what is a Maharanian candidate? This election is not about Joe Biden.
Freedom. That's been the work of my first term, to fight for our democracy. This shouldn't be a red or blue issue.
This election is not about Donald Trump.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
This election is about the Maharanian candidate. We're going to explain all of that in our next episode, and it has everything to do with Assyria. Everything. So that was back in March.
Yes.
That is back
March
in March.
Yes.
On March 15th, that was the episode where we talked about the Maharanian candidate. So we told you, we were playing with the soft gloves. We said, listen, don't worry about Joe Biden. Don't worry about Donald Trump. This election has everything to do with the Maharanian candidate. And then in that episode, we had Sarah dive deep into who the Maharanian candidate is and what this means. But this is something that we've been talking about since 2020. So in 2020, we gave a blueprint for the next 12 years. So we went from 2020 all the way to 2032. And we gave you clues, a breadcrumb, the trail of what you can follow to know what to expect in every election, including the 2024 election. So we said from the beginning, we said, this isn't about Joe Biden. This isn't about Trump. It's about the Maharanian candidate. Well, where did we get that information from? In a previous episode in season 4, we detailed how female power, political power, and leadership moves. So categorically, if you read from Genesis to Malachi, and then into the Gospels, and then you go further into the historical timeline, you will note that political power, from the female standpoint, always moves from east to west.
Yep.
So that's what you've been seeing happen since Sarah. You had Sarah, then Potiphar, then Zipporah, Bathsheba, Jezebel, Athaliah, Samuramat, who is very key to our discussion today, Esther, and then the Maharani. These are the Indian queens. So politically, from Sarah, which would have been 2000 BC, all the way up to the 1500s, we've seen the political power shift from east to west. That's something that you need to hold on to as we get into the discussion. Now, we also showed you that U.S. power politically has been moving from west to east. I think I said east to west, but
Yeah,
I
you
meant to
said
say
east to west, yeah.
west to
West
east.
to
I'm so
east,
sorry.
yeah.
Yes, let me make
Let me
sure.
go back,
Yes,
yes.
let me make sure I clarify that.
Yeah.
West to east.
West to
The
east.
power is moving west to east.
Yeah.
See, blame it on the
Sarah.
fact that I am. Yes, what are you gonna say?
No, I was saying Sarah to
To the Maharani.
The
Yes,
Maharani.
yes. So
That's
it's moving
west to
from
east,
west
yes.
to east. Yes, my apologies. Blame it on the fact that we are opposite. So when we sit here, we're looking at the opposite side of the screen. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, that's totally my fault. But from U.S. power politically, it's also been moving from west to east since President Obama.
Yeah.
So you'll note that he was from Hawaii, and then in came Trump, and then in came Biden, and then in came Biden again from vice president to president.
Yes.
And when he became president, the first thing he said was, after he became president, he had Modi come over, the prime minister for India, and he said, hey, guess what? There's some Bidens in India. We talked about that in that same episode, the Maharanian candidate, back in March. So it's been moving from west to east, and then it culminated with him choosing Kamala Harris as the vice president. Okay, so now what's happening ever since that took place is we now have Kennedy.
Yes.
So Kennedy comes in, and Kennedy is now. Can everybody still see us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kennedy comes in, and Kennedy listens to our broadcast, because in our broadcast we said that you have to find yourself a Maharani. Yes. And Kennedy said, you know what? I'm going to find myself a Maharani. And he went and he got one.
Yes.
And she became his running mate all the way back in March of 2024. And so guess what we did? We didn't leave it with Kennedy. We warned our good buddy Trump. We said, Mr. Trump, if you want to be considered a serious contender in this 2024 U.S. election,
Yes.
you've got to get yourself a Maharanian candidate. All right. You have to get yourself a Maharani candidate. We even gave him a choice. You remember, Sarah? We said to him, you need to choose Nikki Haley.
Yeah,
Go and get Nikki Haley. She is a Maharani, and you would be considered a contender prophetically for this U.S. race. Did he listen? Well, you know, Trump is kind of stubborn and hard-headed. But he listened somewhat.
Somehow.
Yeah, we have to give him some credit, a little bit. Because what he did was, he went and he found himself a running mate who is married to a Maharani. and so he said that, okay, I didn't go full tilt into the Maharanian waters, but you should give me partial credit. And you know, Trump likes partial credit.
He doesn't want a woman with him.
Well, yeah, okay. So
They're worthy.
So the question is that enough to certify the prophecy that politically has to move from west to east? Politically has to move for female dominance from a political standpoint, where you have to get a Maharani. I mean, because once you go to India, I mean, you're at the edge of the map.
That's it.
You cycle back around and it's Hawaii again, and then you get to California. So the question is this enough? Is him choosing her and him choosing J.D. Vance with a surrogate of Usher Vance enough to certify this Assyrian prophecy of moving politically from west to east? Well, here's the fact, and we talked about this all season. We talked about 2025, we talked about Assyria and the United States, and I'm assuming that those of you who've been watching, now it's becoming real to you, because now you're seeing that the timeline that we've been giving you is being certified on almost a weekly basis. So this is the facts. The fact is that America and Assyria, they're running parallel to each other. They're running side by side. They are running on the same information and same key events that happened 3,000 years ago are being replicated. And that's how we're able to sit here and call out things 2 months in advance, 3 months in advance, 2 years in advance, and it happens because of the timeline. The timeline is always right. The sacred desk produces that prophetic anointing, but it only comes from Yahweh, because only He can give you visions and dreams.
Amen.
So just to recap, both of these empires, Assyria and America, they were founded by military leaders, brought together, united the states of Assyria, united the states of America by force through political military leaders all around the same time, which is 1776. For Assyria, it would have been 1776 BC. For America, it would have been 1776 AD. Okay? So both of them, once they became established at that time, they then expanded from east to west. So America expanded from the east coast all the way to the west coast. Assyria did the same thing. They expanded from what will be considered modern day Iran all the way to the Mediterranean, which would be considered Israel. So they were expanding and building their political power and political alliances once they became established as the United States of America, United States of Assyria. And so both of them also have a significant presence of a Maharanian candidate around 2025. Because if you had it in Assyria, Assyria was founded as a city political state in 2025. And then America, of course, we're focused on what's happening in 2025. So if that happened for Assyria in 2025, then politically you have to have a Maharanian presence in the Oval Office come 2025. You cannot escape it. So Trump, he is trying. We give him that. So just this week, the headline read, as Democrats court Haley supporters, the former UN ambassador is still waiting to hear from Trump. We're telling you, Mr. Hopeful President, you've got to get yourself a serious contender for this Maharani seat.
There's no respect.
Yeah, so if you don't get it, they already got the slogan and the hashtag ready. They have it. It's Haley's for Harris. So
right.
As soon as she became the nominee for the Democratic Party, they started and introduced this Haley's for Harris, where they're taking her voter base and they're trying to migrate them over to the Democratic Party. So what's going on right now in 2024? Specifically in November of 2024, what's happening? We've got what we call a Maharanian dance, okay? Where you've got Usher, you've got Kamala, and you've got Nikki Haley, and they're all vying to see who is going to be the Maharanian candidate. Now, Sarah, you've covered Kamala Harris for us all the way back since 2020. You introduced the idea of her. So what we want is, and then back in 2024, in March, you basically spearheaded that entire episode on the Maharanian candidate. So here's what we need. We need to know, is the selection of Vance and Usher enough for Trump to secure the presidency from a Maharanian standpoint?
Okay, so I'll just be direct.
Okay.
And the answer is no.
Okay.
I don't think Trump choosing J.D. Vance as a surrogate because of his Maharanian wife is enough to consider him to fulfill the Assyrian Samur Ramat timeline. What I do know is that Trump selecting J.D. Vance, whose wife fits that Maharanian status, is just a clear nod to the fact that we are on the right track, and all angles point to this 2025 connection of America paralleling with Assyria. Kamala is the designated one. She fits the mold precisely. Plus, this is the first time that I've ever seen so many Republicans support a Democratic candidate for presidency in America. And not just regular citizen Republicans. I mean Republicans directly affiliated with the United States government. Here's a short list.
Okay.
So we have Stephanie Grisham. She's a Republican
who
was the White House press secretary. Anna Navarro, she's a political commentator, and she's a talk show host, and she's also a big Republican.
Yes.
Then we have John Giles, who is the mayor of Mesa, Arizona.
Wow.
Olivia Troy, she is actually the former Trump administration official. We have Jeff Duncan, who's the lieutenant governor of this state, Georgia, and Adam Kinzinger, who is also a Republican and the U.S. representative for Illinois.
Wow.
All these names are actually people who have full-fledged endorsed Kamala Harris, and they are Republicans who made addresses at the Democratic National Convention in August.
Wow.
Openly endorsing Kamala Harris.
Wow.
And I'd also like to add that former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, just this week, openly endorsed Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States.
Wow.
Need I say more? I can say so much more.
You can say so much more.
Do I really need to say more?
Wow.
Yeah.
The evolution of Arnold. I
Yes.
think that's what we have to say. Wow, that is
So there you have it.
Yeah, that is an amazing list of supporters. Republican supporters who have come, out in droves for Kamala Harris.
I've never seen Republicans speak at a Democratic national convention
Never.
in my life.
No. And not at that volume.
Yes, not that many.
Not at that
Maybe
volume.
one or two, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah, not at that level.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was amazing. That was amazing. So here we are now. So as Sarah would have said, and I can attest and agree that, based on the prophecy that we've given, based on the information that we've shared, it's going to be very, very difficult for the Republicans now to recover from this amount of support that we've seen for the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, do me a favor, Aaron, unplug that HDMI from that TV for me. Yes, unplug that one and just plug it back in. To make sure that we get all the content that we need to get. Thank you very much. I think that should do the job for us.
Fun, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so there we go. So moving on. Let's talk a bit about Shamshi Adad, because we have to address Shamshi Adad. We have to go back to Assyria, because you cannot talk about what's happening in 2024 going into 2025 without talking about what happened in Assyria way back in 2025 BC.
That's right.
Moving into 1776 BC and then moving forward. So let's talk about Shamshi Adad and Samur-Ramat, because Samur-Ramat is the legendary queen who was in charge of Assyria.
Yes.
So who is she? Why is she important to us? And what does this have to do with the 2024 election? We're going to explain everything to you right now so that when you sit down next week, Tuesday, and you watch the election unfold, you'll have some of this information circling in the back of your mind.
Indeed.
So what's the full story of Samur-Ramat? Well, I'll tell you right now, they have 100 different versions of it. I read most of them to compile a very specific compilation of who she is, why she's so important to Assyria, and how we can use her historical information to kind of chart the course for where we are in 2024 and moving forward. So Samur-Ramat, aka Semiramis, was the queen and primary consort of Shamshi Adad V. Okay, Shamshi Adad V. Why is Shamshi Adad V so important? Well, you have to recall that Shamshi Adad I was the one who actually founded and brought together the states of Assyria.
Yes.
So what they do in Assyria is when they want to pull the essence of the leadership, they would take a name from somebody who has done great things, so that they could prophesy with themselves that they will be greater than that person.
Yes.
It's kind of what they do with their popes as well.
Yeah.
Take on the name of a previous pope in order for them to solidify their candidacy for ruleship. So the leaders in Assyria, they did the same thing. The leaders in Rome, they did the same thing. So Shamshi Adad I was the one who came with that great power and united the kingdom.
Yes.
And then there were three others who took the name, Shamshi Adad II, III, and IV. They weren't as prominent. Shamshi Adad V now comes on the scene, and this guy is massacring Mesopotamia.
Yes.
In fact, when he marries Samur-Ramat, they say that she might have been Sidonian. So she may have come from the same place as Jezebel. And she's living at the same time as Jezebel.
Yes.
So Shamshi Adad V and Samur-Ramat are living at the same time as Ahab and Jezebel. So we talked about that in season 4. We talked about the real king's wives of Mesopotamia, right? So they're all living at the same time. They're all serving pagan gods, as you could expect, because that's what pagans do. They serve pagan gods. So way back in 1776, Shamshi Adad I founds and unites the states, and now we have Shamshi Adad V, who is married to Samur-Ramat, and they are now attempting to expand the Assyrian Empire and colonize all the regions around them. Now, when they get together, they have a son. So Shamshi Adad and Samur-Ramat, they start ruling about 824 BC.
Yes.
By 811, they now consummate the marriage and they have a son. But before they have the son, they rule together for 13 years. And in those 13 years, Samura Mat becomes legendary because she's the first queen who actually has a stele erected in her honor, S-T-E-L-E. So what is a stele? A stele is sort of like a billboard that we consider in 2024 right now, modern day. A stele is something that you put up when you've conquered a territory to remind people that, hey, listen, I did this.
Right.
Do not cross me again. So what happened was her husband went on a military campaign to cross the Euphrates because the kings, they did not want to pay homage to the king anymore.
That's right.
So, and this similar thing happened in Genesis 14 with Lot when he was caught up with Sodom and Gomorrah and all the other kings, right? But this happened to Shamshi-Adad V. So he says, we're not playing that game. He and Samura Mat together crossed the Euphrates to go further than Mesopotamia. So this would have been in the Persian area. And he subjected those kings. Then he put a stele up in his wife's name to remind them that I brought my wife across the Euphrates and I smacked you down. So now you must pay respect to me for the rest of your life. And so the stele is still in existence to this day. It's in a museum somewhere in the United Kingdom, I believe. So after they get back in 811 BC, Samura Mat says, I've had a son for you now. We've named him Adad Nirari III. I want you to allow me to rule for just 5 days.
Yes.
So Shamshi-Adad V says, okay, no harm, no foul.
5 days.
I will allow you to rule for 5 days.
Why not?
He allows him to rule for 5 days. On day 3, the legend says that Samura Mat had him assassinated. And because Adad Nirari III, their son, was so young, she now assumed ruleship until he would become of ruling age. So how long did she rule? She ruled for 5 years. So pay attention to those numbers. He's Shamshi-Adad V. They ruled together for 13 years. Then she says to him, let me rule for 5 days.
5 days.
In the middle of the 5 days, or in day 3, she now stabs him in the back. Emotionally, physically, mentally, all of it, politically. And then she takes ruleship of the kingdom until her son becomes of ruling age. So that that there tells you how dangerous this woman is. So now in 811 you have Shamshi-Adad V, who is out, Samura Mat, who is now the queen of Assyria, and she's ruling until Adad Nirari III comes of age. Now, the question, I know most people are saying, this is so boring. What does this have to do with the U.S. election? What does this have to do with 2024?
Everything.
Are you guys going to get to the point?
Well, of course.
Here's the point. Shamshi-Adad V politically is identical to Joe Biden, who is the 46th president of the United States. But from research, you can also consider him the master of the fifths. What do we mean by the master of the fifths? Here are some fifths that are prominent with Joe Biden. He has been a politician for 5 decades.
Yes.
5 decades. He is the 5th oldest person to assume office in the Senate at age 30.
Yes.
Biden was the 45th vice president of the United States. He won the 5th most votes in U.S. history for a presidential candidate in his 2008 Senate re-election. So we know that he went and he got re-elected to the Senate, and then he went on to become the vice president for Barack Obama. Biden was the 5th oldest person to run as a major political candidate in a U.S. presidential election in 2020. Yes. Biden is the 5th Catholic president in U.S. history. That's a very important fifth. Yes. Biden was the 5th presidential candidate in U.S. history over age 75 at the time of his inauguration. He selected, now these are some great facts right here. Listen to this good now. He selected the 5th woman in history to serve as Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen. Yes. Biden appointed the 5th woman to lead the CIA as Deputy Director, Cynthia Rapp. He appointed the 5th woman to lead the U.S. Department of Commerce, Gina Raimondo. His administration selected the 5th woman to serve as White House Communications Director, Kate Bedingfield. Biden appointed the 5th female ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield. The 5th bill introduced under his administration was a COVID-19 relief proposal. His 5th month in office saw the signing of the Hate Crimes Act targeting Asian American discrimination. Now, when you talk about Asian Americans, you're talking about those who are from the East.
Yes,
you're talking about the Maharanians.
Yes.
Okay? Biden launched the 5G security initiative to safeguard national networks. Now, you may be asking, okay, we get it. Biden is the fifth. Yeah, you've convinced us. What does this have to do with Shamshi-Adad V and Samura Mat? Well, there are also some fifths between Biden and Harris, the Biden-Harris coalition. We call them the circle of fifths.
Yes.
So, Sarah, since you covered Kamala, give us some of those fifths that they've noted for Kamala and Biden.
So Kamala Harris is the fifth female U.S. senator to run on a major party ticket, and the fifth woman in U.S. history to be nominated for national office as vice president.
Yes.
Biden and Harris formed the fifth presidential ticket where the president and the vice president were from different racial backgrounds, marking a significant moment in U.S. history and representation.
Yes.
Biden and Harris became the fifth pair in U.S. history where both the president and the vice president previously served in the Senate, emphasizing their combined legislative experience.
Wow. Okay, so here's what we're doing. We're trying to make sure that you understand when historical moments happen, you always have to keep the information from those moments because, as Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. So everything repeats. So when you see patterns start repeating, this is Yahweh's indication to you to say, hey, listen, pay attention to this. Because if you know that A, B, and C happened in Assyria, and you're at point A in U.S. history, then automatically B and C also have to happen.
Yes.
It just has to align. That's the way the Bible works.
Yes, it does.
All right, so now, Shamshi-Adad V agreed to let Samura Mat rule for 5 days. Okay, that was the agreement. On day 3, she assumes his office. Biden can be considered Shamshi-Adad V of Assyria, and that would make Kamala Harris Samura Mat of Assyria.
Yes.
So, you have any insight on that, brother?
Yes. I hope everybody else is paying attention to this, brother. Watch this now. Biden and Kamala are now on the same ticket, fives. Biden was in politics for 5 decades.
Yeah.
He was supposed to run for re-election, starting his second term in January 2025. In July 2024, after serving for 3 years as a president, Kamala Harris steps in and takes over the Democratic ticket. Biden is out. Kamala is in. Biden is Shamshi-Adad V, and Kamala is Samura Mat. Brother, this Bible, it is too sweet to really ignore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Yes.
And by the way, Samura Mat was queen with Shamshi-Adad for 13 years.
That's right.
Before she began to rule solo.
Yes.
Kamala Harris started her Attorney General career that led to her Senate career that led to her Vice President career in 2011.
Yes.
You know how many years that is? 13
Take a guess.
years.
13 years.
That matches perfectly.
Yes.
So as we said before, you have to observe the timeline because the timeline is always right and it's going to explain itself to you if you let it.
That's right.
Because Yahweh put it there in your hands.
Yes.
So that's what we do here. You know, we do that.
Yeah, from 2011 to 2024 is 13 years.
Yes.
13 years. Wow.
So we're right on the money.
Right on the. So 3 years.
Yes.
Because if you calculate it, Biden became president 2021, January 2021.
Yes.
So 2021, he ruled. 2022, he's in power.
Yes.
2023, he's in power. 3
Yes.
years. Year 4,
Year 4.
Kamala steps in.
Say 3 days after.
3 days after.
She assassinated who? Shamshi-Adad. But in this case, he was not assassinated. He stepped down. But you have to look at it prophetic.
Yeah.
Prophetic.
You have
Because
to.
most of the time people want to look at it in the physical. But
Yeah.
you look at it in the physical.
That means time is up.
Yeah, that means
That's
time
what
is
that
up.
means.
Exactly.
Time is
Because
up.
time is up.
Yeah.
So 5 decades, that's it.
That's it.
And that was it. 5 days, 5 decades.
Yes.
That's it. Wow. This is amazing. This is
3
amazing.
days.
3 days. 3 days. Now, all season 4, all of 2024, we talked about 2025.
Yes.
January, February, March, April, May. We talked about 2025. The minute we went off air, like the week after we went off
That's
air,
right.
and closed out season 4, what did they come out with? They come out with Project 2025, which is tied to Donald Trump and Project 2025, right?
Yes.
On top of that, The last thing we said was, the last thing we noted was that there was going to come endorsements.
Yes.
Neama.
And we said that Neama, we talked about two Neamas
The
in particular.
divas.
The divas.
Yes.
Two, we mentioned two.
Two divas.
We said two are going to come up and they are going to turn the tide of the election
Yes.
when they do this major endorsement.
That's right.
And so what takes place? What takes place?
The double Neama.
The double Neama. They had this thing sandwiched.
Yes, the night of the presidential debate.
Mm-hmm.
It was like what? Not even an hour.
Not
Right
even an
after.
hour, right
and
after.
then Kamala slaughtered
Yes.
Trump.
Yes.
Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris
Yes.
as the next president of the United States. And she told all of her Swifties to go out there and do some early voting.
Yes.
So that was a big one.
And how many followers she has approximately?
Oh goodness. You can't tabulate. Let me tell you. One of her songs.
It's off the charts.
She is one of 10 people, I think, on YouTube who are in the billionaire status.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm talking about where 1 billion people watch your videos.
Wow.
Okay, so you can't even measure or calculate
Yes.
the weight of influence that these Neamas have.
Yes, the divas.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because this goes back to Genesis.
It
That's
goes
right.
back
It goes
to,
back to Genesis.
Yes.
Genesis 4 to be
4,
exact, where we detailing Cain's line. We're talking about
Lamech's
Lamech's daughter.
Yes.
Because Lamech had 4 children.
Yes.
And all 4 of them were pivotal to what we're seeing right now.
Yes.
One was in charge of music, the other one was in charge of masonry, the other one was in charge of the economy, and the daughter was in charge of entertainment and singing.
Yep.
So those 4 came together and they transformed and revolutionized the world, so much so that Yahweh in Genesis 6 said, violence has taken over the land and have to destroy it.
Yeah.
It was because of those 4 from Lamech's side. And we talked about the Nephilim. They are the Nephilim.
Yes.
And today we have Nephilim walking this planet,
Uh-huh.
but they're not, people say angels in human form. No. The Nephilim embody the spirit of those who came before.
Before. And
Yes.
then we have 2 Neamas right here.
We got the 2 Neamas right here. So
Taylor
one,
and Beyonce.
yes. So right after, the night after, which is, this debate took place.
The night of.
Yeah, the night of.
The night
right.
of the debate.
The
Just
debate,
when it ended.
Right. And the debate took place, I want to say 3 weeks prior to, 3 weeks after, she clinched the Democratic nomination.
Yes, it was 3 weeks.
It was 3 weeks
About
after.
that. Mhm.
And what happened about 2 weeks before we get to election day? The second Neama.
The second one.
These are the billionaire divas.
Yes.
She comes up, she endorses Kamala.
Yes.
Kamala Harris. So now you have these 2 endorsements that, we were sitting down waiting on it. Biden tried to get it. He brought Kels up, who is Taylor Swift's fiance. They went to go and visit the White House.
Yes.
And out of all the football players, Biden say, Travis, you come up here. And Travis came to the mic and he said, Mr. President, I was joking the last time. I said I was going to come to the mic, but now you brought me to the mic and I'm just going to go back because the Secret Service may shoot me. So that was a kind of an introduction to the idea that this endorsement was in the works in the background.
Yes.
But now we saw it come out in full
It was
force.
a tease.
It was a tease.
Because it really was Swift and Harris.
Yes.
Yeah, it had to be that combination.
And that one hurt Trump to the bone. Because in July of 2024, after the assassination attempt, they went and they built the Swifties for Trump.
For Trump, yeah, they did that.
She did not endorse it. But her fans, her fans did it. And so Trump took it as an endorsement.
Yes.
From Swift. And when she endorsed Kamala officially, he took the Truth Social and he was vehement. He was angry.
And the night of the debate, he already got slaughtered.
Yes.
So that was like the cherry on top.
Yes. Yeah. So we here in the Deep, we joke around a lot, and we don't officially, from a kingdom standpoint, support any party.
No.
We just sit down and we observe based on what Yahweh has shown
Yes.
us. And whatever
Yes.
Yahweh shows us, we know that it will come to pass. And
Yes.
we share it, and then we just wait and anticipate that it will come. And we've been doing this for 20 years. So, this isn't anything new. And
That's
if you've been with us for 20 years, you know that the Deep, we try to be as accurate as we can from a biblical standpoint. We don't worry too much about, what the polls say. We don't worry too much about what the political analysts say, because most times we're on the opposite side of what they're saying anyway.
Yes, this is the Issachar room.
Yeah, this is the car room. That's exactly what we do. So we give Yahweh praise for those of you who've been with us. Especially, I got to give a shout out to Taisha, because Taisha is one. Joe, she started with us when she was probably 12 or 13.
Wow.
And we started, studying together and going deep into the Word.
Yes.
And she's very educated, very brilliant from that, even back then as a teenager. And she would question the pastors and the bishops, and they couldn't answer a lot of the questions that she had. And even to this day, from that time, this is 2006, I believe, that we had our group Section 7.
Yes.
From 2006 to 2024, 2005 to 2024, we knew each other grew up in the same church, but to start studying together, that was a different thing. So from 2005, as Sarah would say, up until now, she is still here with us.
Yes.
Yes.
Praise be unto Yahweh.
Married with children.
Yes.
She messaged Sarah during atonement. She said, I'm pregnant. I just want to confirm that I can do the atonement fast.
Yes.
When you put yourself in a position to safeguard the next generation in the womb, you become like an Elizabeth.
Amen.
Yeah, you become like a Sarah. You become like a Mary.
You become like a Hannah.
And that's all right.
And that's her last name, Hannah.
That's right. Yes, she's the Hannah. So I mean, it all connects, Taisha. See that? Sarah's prophesying over you. Yeah, so we thank Yahweh for you, and we pray over you and your wonderful husband, Odon. I want to call him Onan. Odon. Yes, we give Yahweh praise for both of you, because you guys are fabulous. We love you. We appreciate you.
Yes,
and
indeed.
Yahweh will continue to reward you. The best is yet to come.
Yes.
And what you can expect for your family because of the sacrifice that you've made in 2024, the best is yet to come. Because what Yahweh does during atonement, the 10 days of awe, is Yahweh sits and he observes, and he makes adjustments to his books for our sake based on the effort that we put into his feast.
Yes.
And so for you to set that aside, set that time aside in consecration and prayer, even the thought, because, Yeshua said when you look at a woman to lust after, you've already committed adultery in your heart.
That's right.
But it also goes the same way for the good things, the kingdom.
Yes, that's right, the good things.
When you just consider something for Yahweh's sake, he blesses you just for that consideration. And this is what happened
to Daniel.
Yeah, this is what happened to Daniel.
Because say from the very moment.
There you go. From the moment you sought. Yes.
He haven't begun the fasting.
That's right. No.
From the very moment, he just had the thoughts.
The prayer was answered.
Yes, instantly.
Same thing with Abraham.
Yes.
He said, hey, don't sacrifice your son, because now I know that you will not withhold any good thing from me. So when you begin a life in your womb with that kind of dedication, this child can be nothing but great and dedicated for the purpose of honor and glory of Yahweh. Amen. So we give Yahweh praise for you, my sister. I love you. You're awesome. I can't wait for us to get together. When we come to Nassau, again, we've got to connect. We've got to connect. In fact, when you come to ATL, we've got to connect. We'll have you on the deep dive. You sit here.
Yes.
I'll let you run the show. I'll go sit in the back with Aaron and Sanaa. You come. So
around the table.
Around the table. So that there just proves that Yahweh already had certain things on his agenda.
Yes.
And if you listen to what Yahweh is saying, you're able to now partner with what he's doing. So that takes me to something interesting that happened, and we're going to take a walk back to 2022. We're going to walk back to 2022. So July of 2022, in America, July 4th is the big day. July 4th is Independence. So, and next year I think is when America celebrates the 250th Independence, right? I believe it is. Yeah, 1776, 20. No, year after.
Yeah.
Next year is 249. Correct. Yeah. So in 2022, July 2nd of 2022, I'm sitting down, and to be honest with you, I'm having a moment with Yahweh, because there are some things that I'm expecting that are not lining up. So I'm having a moment, Joe, and Yahweh says, I want you to prophesy this for me. It's sort of like Ezekiel. And I say, Yahweh, I'm not going live. So, give me a strategy. Yes. So he said, okay, well then write it and then encrypt it. So I write this thing that Yahweh showed me, and I encrypt it. And this is way back in July of 2022. It's on my Facebook. I pinned it. The date is right there on the post. So I pinned it, and you can read it. It's on my wall on Facebook. You won't see any edits there. You know, these people, they do prophecies and they go back and edit it.
You can't do that. You can't edit something that's there.
Then it's not a prophecy.
Yeah, that's not a prophecy.
Backtracking.
But they don't even allow you to go in it to change anything when a memory. It was like a memory, right?
I don't even know how it came up. Probably now.
Yeah, you can't go in there like that.
Yeah,
the only thing you can do is share it.
That's true. That's true. So anyway, this is what he shows me in a vision. This is not a dream. This is a vision, and I take this vision with him, and he shows me these things, and then I encrypt it. And this is what I say in the post. I said, I see you +8.23, CCJB, donned in white linen, restless as it is, in the sand state. Post address and broken dream. Notes of the swift wolf making room for gained deputy and 1223. So I post that and I put Selah and my wife and my mother-in-law and one other person, they put liked on it. They put like on it, and everybody else is like, what in the world is this guy talking about?
What are you talking about?
What does this mean? So let me break down the vision for you.
What does this mean?
So
I didn't get to see it, so now
you didn't get to see it.
If I seen, I would say, what does this mean?
I know. So yeah. So in the vision, this is July 2nd of 2022.
Yes.
I'm traveling with Joe Biden in the spirit. He goes to Saudi Arabia sometime in April or May. I'm with him in Saudi Arabia. He comes back, he's got a bug. He gets sick. So they take him to Las Vegas, Nevada. And he's sitting in this room in Vegas, Las Vegas, Nevada. And then he dies. And everybody's coming to mourn, and I'm in the same house with him. It's a beautiful house. And it's sort of like an Adobe-style house, and you know they have these inner rooms, and you have all these political figures coming, and I'm just standing in the front area, just watching these people come in and pay their condolences to his wife. And then Yahweh says, go in the back room. So I go in the back room. I go in the back room, and sitting on the bed in white is Joe Biden. And he's alive, and he's talking. So in the dream, he's upset because people want him to die. They've already decided that he's dead, but he's not really dead in real life. But everything is moving forward as if he's died, and they can have a state funeral, and then I have no idea what they're going to do with him. So he is perplexed as to what's going on. And I'm perplexed as well. And then Yahweh explains it to me, and he says, keep those dates, and when the time is right, you'll know what it means. So this is what the post means. I'm going to decrypt it now in real time. It says, I see you, 823, and I'll explain what 823 is. The CC stands for Commander-in-Chief. The JB stands for Joe Biden. So I see you, 823, Commander-in-Chief Joe Biden. You're wearing white linen. You're restless as it is in the sand state. So now in the dream, the sand state is Las Vegas, Nevada. Post address and broken dream. Post address means he was saying something, he was about to do something, but now they wouldn't allow him to do it, so all his dreams have been crushed. Notes of the swift wolf. The swift wolf was twofold. In the dream, as I was sitting in the room with all these politicians coming in and out, on CNN broadcasting the information that Joe Biden had died was Wolf Blitzer. He's broadcasting the news during this. And now that he's gone, he's making room for his named deputy, who is Kamala Harris, and 1223. So that's the vision that I had. Now, that's July 2nd, 2022. So July of 2023, nothing happens. And I'm like, okay, Yahweh, I don't understand what this was, but I'm glad it's encrypted, because if it wasn't encrypted, your prophet would be very embarrassed right now. And then July 2nd of 2024 comes. And what's the big news July 2nd of 2024? Joe Biden is now on the road to Christ. This is how Democrat how Democrats let President Biden glide to the renomination. So this is after his first presidential debate, which was disastrous. And now they're saying, okay, nobody's challenging Joe Biden in the field. He is cruising on his way to become the Democratic candidate for election 2024. That is July 2nd. So this is actually 2 years before, after I made the post.
Yeah.
Precisely 2 years after I made the post. Now remember, the post says 8/23.
Yeah.
That 8/23 is August, the 23rd date of August. What are the headlines for August of 2024? August 23rd, to be precise, 2024. These are the headlines. Sorry, before I get to that, on July 17th, 2024, Joe Biden travels to Las Vegas. When he goes to Las Vegas, he contracts COVID-19.
That's right.
When he gets COVID-19, he has to cancel all of his press engagements.
Yes.
He was supposed to speak somewhere. So he ends up sick in Vegas. He has to isolate, and then he flies back home to continue in isolation.
From the Sand State.
From the Sand State. The political party is now in an uproar because all of that week, everybody, including Nancy Pelosi, they were all pressuring Joe Biden to step down.
Yes.
What are the headlines for August 23rd, 2024, which would be 8/23? These are the headlines for August 23rd. It says, Kamala Harris accepts Democratic nomination with a call for unity.
Amen.
Now remember, Shamshi Adad V was replaced by Samu Ramat. Kamala Harris replaced Joe Biden on August 22nd, that night. So her speech was at 9 p.m., I think, that night at the Democratic Convention, August 22nd. When everybody woke up on August 23rd, the headlines were, Kamala Harris is now officially the Democratic nominee for the presidential race, 2024. This is something that Yahweh showed us. So he laid everything out for us with a silver spoon,
Amen.
telling us exactly what was going to happen, what states would be involved, what dates should you look forward to. And then there's a particular date that he also said. He said the Dayan deputy gets prepared on August 23rd. But there's another key date, which is 12/23. So August 23rd is 8/23, 2024. We are keeping our eyes on December 23rd, 2024. What does that mean? I mean, we have a lot of theories on what that could mean. But the timeline is always right. So when the timeline shows us, then you'll be able to say, "Hey, I knew it was December 23rd that something was going to happen." You know?
Time will tell.
Yeah, so we give Yahweh for
Amen. Truly is faithful.
Yes. Why is this so important? Like, why is it so important to be extremely critically accurate when it comes to Yahweh's prophetic? Because he shows us things well in advance. Because we dedicate ourselves to understanding and reading his word. And so he's shown us things that will happen in this election, 2024, even before these things come to pass. And he's given us the blueprint so that we could warn everybody, not about this election, but about what comes after it. Because we've been telling you that 2025 there's going to be another global shaking. And we mean that. And so Yahweh uses these prophetic moments where we give that prophetic word in accuracy, so he can say, listen, I'm speaking to these guys. You need to listen to what they're saying, or else you are going to be in trouble when everything falls apart.
Yeah, because it's like a path, you know?
It is a path.
Yes.
One thing leads to another.
Leads to another. And that's what we did all year long, season 4. We talked about the mark of the beast and how it would develop. We talked about the fire from heaven, the idol, the murder, and then the mark. So we've given you all of that information. And not only that, we've asked Yahweh, and Yahweh has proven himself worthy. We asked him for the dates and times, the seasons, when these things would roll out. And he gave us a blueprint to expect certain things to happen. The alpha testing of the mark between 2025 and 2032. The beta testing between 2028 and 2039. So the dates shift, and as time moves forward, things compress.
Yes.
And so as we move forward in time, Yahweh will begin to share more information with us to compress the timeline. So right now, things are wide open, because certain events haven't happened yet.
That's
But
right.
once those events happen, everything has to fall in place.
Yes.
And then we have the gamma testing and then the release sometime between 2030 and 2045. Keep these dates because we're going to talk about these dates and show you what it has to do with the U.S. election. But the most important information that we have, that we've shared, is this one. Congress.
Yes.
We talked about 120 in season 4.
Yes.
120 comes from Genesis chapter 6, again dealing with Cain's descendants, Lamech's children. It says that man will only have Yahweh's help and assistance for 120 years because of their disobedience. Well, when does Congress turn 120? Congress turns 120 on January 3rd, 2027. So they have 2-year cycles. So between 2027 and 2029, Congress is going to be introducing their 120th session. And in that session, you can expect legislation for the mark to be issued.
And that's right, the year right after America becomes 250.
That's the year right after 250. That is 2 years after the next president who is nominated and clinches this election.
Yeah.
They're going to be in power during that time. So we're going to see some things unfold.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to watch those things. And we're going to also share those things, provided
Yes, indeed.
Yahweh still has us on the air. Because, if he says encrypt something or don't share it, you could bet your bottom dollar. If Yahweh says don't share something, you won't be hearing anything from me. Because a lot of people call and they say, "Yeah, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on that?" Most of the time, they're only calling because they don't believe and they want something to talk about until moments like this happen, where everything that you share comes to pass exactly as you've shared it.
Amen.
And then they say for a brief moment, "Man, you guys are really onto something." Until you share something weird again, and then it's these guys are crazy. You're all crazy, man.
Do too much Bible. Read too much Bible.
Read too much Bible. You're in history too much.
Yes.
These things don't make sense. You talking about Assyria? Tell me I'm going to get a better job. That's what I want to know. How am I going to get a house and a car? Don't tell me about ancient Assyria.
Yes.
That can't help me. So we've been preparing everybody for 2020, for 2047, 2048. Like, when we look at the calendar, Yahweh's timeline, there's nothing after that date. It's like empty, it's black, it's void. You don't get anything past 2048. So 2047, 2048, that's it. There's nothing. And I know it's bold to be able to sit here and to say that. But like I said, we've been prophesying things accurately for 20 years.
Yes.
For 20 years, and Yahweh has not allowed us to miss one single prophecy for 20 years. So we're telling you that's about 24 years from now, right? Mm-hmm. So for the next 24 years, we're going to make sure that we stay in right standing so that we can continue to prophesy Yahweh's word. So now, Joe.
Yes.
All of this is based on the priesthood.
That's right.
Please, because there are some people who may not have watched that episode when we talked about the priesthood and the 2048 and the 120. Help us understand what that is. Give us a quick rundown of the priesthood, please.
Well, it all begins in Numbers.
Uh-huh.
Yahweh said that you ought to draft the Levite to work at the age of 25.
Okay.
Okay, it's strategic.
Mm-hmm.
I said draft them in at the age of 25 so they can be ready for service.
Mm-hmm.
But really and truly, they don't begin the work until they are 30.
Wow.
So then if they don't begin the work until they are 30, then why is Yahweh said to draft them at 25?
Mm-hmm.
But because Yahweh work is very strategic.
Mm.
So what it does is that with that 5 years window, they begin the internship.
Right.
That begins the training, because the work of the temple is very, 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 very sacred,
Mm-hmm.
and there is no room for error.
Right.
It's not one of those things that when you go out there, if you make a mistake, they say, okay, you're fired, or you're incompetent,
Mm-hmm.
or you are out of the door. No.
Right.
It's one of those things that if you make a mistake, you're dead. Matter of fact, if you don't know, ask Abihu and the children of Aaron.
Yeah.
Because Yahweh was strategic about the incense. He said, when you make this incense, do not make them as you use them for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't add nothing on it.
Correct.
Follow the instruction.
Yeah.
Of course, I figured out that maybe I can add a little bit of something to make it look like some of those a perfume or those some spices like some of those Egyptian fragrance. So let me add something, and the Bible says they add strange incense, and then of course Yahweh didn't spare them; it killed them on the altar.
Yeah.
So that means it is crucial.
Right.
So most internship you go, you probably about a year or 6 months, but with Yahweh it's 5 years window for preparation, for there is no room for error. So at 30 now, you are drafted into the priesthood and you begin to work. So you begin to work as a Levite from 30 until you're 20. I mean, until you're 50. That's 20 years window. Once you reach 50, now it says it's retirement. But really and truly, Yahweh said, do not do the physical work. So now you don't do the physical work, but what do you do? He said you stay in the temple and then now be a delegate. So you become a supervisor. So now this is where the 5 years window coming from 25 to 30. Those at 50 now begin to invest now into those who come at 25.
Right.
So those they not do the physical work, but they begin to take them under the wing and train them. And what Yahweh is strategic, the young and the old are working together in perfect harmony.
Yes.
So now the 50 invest into those who are 25 until they reach 30 and they release them. But while those 50 are in semi-retirement, their job is not done. They're still there until 70.
Right.
Because Yahweh says that the age of lifespan is 70. And he said, by reason of strength, then he give you extra. But then David didn't stop there. David says that those who work at the temple, those who live at the temple, those who are in Yahweh court, they will have what? Not only long life, but he said they will bear fruit in old age.
Right.
So at 70, they are still bearing fruit. If Yahweh give them that extra long life. How does this also? Because we're talking about the priesthood. Now here comes Yeshua on the scene. Yeshua also has to go to the same thing. So Yeshua now begins at the age of 12. At the age of 12, he goes into the temple and begins to ask questions. As you say, your sister was asking those hard questions.
Yes.
But here is the culture. The culture says that the Hebrew culture says that a child at the age of 12 must be able to literally know the 5 books, the Torah. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It must know it. And that would bring you onto maturity. So when Yeshua actually was sitting down at 12, he was actually saying, listen, I know my book now, so he was asking hard questions. But of course, if the parents never intervene, I believe they will have kicked something on a high gear.
Yeah.
But he goes out, and then by 30 now, it begins his work. But here it is. The Bible does not say where did he get his training or who actually trained from 25 till 30.
That's true.
But we know it. Yeshua himself tells us.
Yes.
He said when the spirit of truth is come, he will guide you into all truth.
Amen.
And you are talking about Aaron. We're talking about you have the chosen, you have the called, and you have the elect. Then you have the voice. So when you get into the level of the voice, those are the ones that actually are trained by the Holy Spirit. And it's only a handful of people that actually went to that training. We bet Moses was in that school. Elijah was in that school. So even Paul was in that school. So guess what? Yeshua went to that school. So he was in that school. He didn't need 5 years. The Bible says he was there for 40 days. It wasn't 40 days of a self-denial, of self-starvation. It was 40 days of training.
Validation.
Yes. And when he came out by 30, he begins his work. So of course we know Yeshua didn't pass 50, so he can invest in. So what was he doing? He died at the age of 33. So while he was doing the work of the Levite or of the service of the temple at 30, he was also investing into his disciple. So he was doing both jobs. He was doing the job of the 30 and the job of the 50. Because the Bible says when he constantly did all those miracles at night, he was doing the job of the 50. It took the time of the different session and he began to teach them. He says that about the parable of the sower in the city. He said, to you it is given the opportunity to be given the hidden mystery of the kingdom. And he explained to them in detail. That he invests into them. So he did the same thing. So now, how does it fit in our regular circle work? Same thing. You go to school. By the time you're 25, you're supposed to be in the workforce. By 30, you're supposed to definitely have a job and be working. And then when you work until you're 50, of course, you can't do all the heavy lifting anymore. So if you invest your time in a company, most companies deem you essential. They won't say, you know what? Let's fire you and get you. No. You are an asset. Matter of fact, they say, listen, we're going to give you a lesser role. Now, you know the teaching, you know the doctrine, you know the culture of the company. Begin to invest into those who come in. So at 50 now, you become a supervisor manager and you begin to invest in until you turn 70, ready. They say 60, but now they stretch it now. The early retirement to 70.
Yeah.
The Senate already passed it, so people that are at 60 are coming back to retirement. So the kingdom understands it.
Yes.
The secular world understands it.
Yes.
But then the church doesn't understand it,
Yeah.
which is sad. Because in the church now, there is no harmony where you have the young and the old working together.
Wow.
The old were supposed to literally invest into the young,
Yes.
but they're not. Matter of fact, when at the age of 25, when you come into, you begin to ask some hard questions. They say you are too young for ministry. They wait till you're 50, and then they say you become a minister, and then they want to make you a lay minister, and all of these things here, which is already way late. And then by the time you're 70, that's when they give you a bishop license.
Right.
My friend, where are you going? This is
70.
age of retirement.
Yeah.
So the church doesn't understand it, but we declare we understand it.
We understand.
So that is the work of the 30, the 50, and the 70, and it's precise how Yahweh designed it. Because literally, if you look at David's life, it was identical
Yes.
to that,
Absolutely.
and he walked right into it as he spoke to it in the Psalm. So yes, we give Yahweh glory.
Amen. And even politically,
Yes,
most politicians, they start their work as Biden did at
yes,
30.
that's right.
He's the fifth one, the youngest.
Yes,
And he's the fifth eldest.
that's right.
Over 70.
Over 70.
Usually after 70, you retire.
You retire. That's what the pressure is.
That's
Listen,
right.
man, I know you got long life. I know Yahweh going to live long life, but it's time to step down.
It's time to step down. Now, I want you to go back and make sure you watch that episode that Joe
Yes,
broke down
indeed.
that priesthood, because Sarah also broke down the 7 generations. We know that 7 generations
Yes.
is it. We don't have any more.
Completion.
Completion. But this here is also another one that Joe explained, and we talked a lot more about it. And when you look at the priesthood, the Bible actually takes care to give you the number of the
Yes.
priests that were numbered in the 3 families of the priesthood.
Yes.
The Merarites, the Gershonites, and the Kohathites.
Kohathites.
So the Bible gives us that information, and when you add it all together, it comes up to 8580 from a Israelite calendar. So we're in 2024, but they're in a different year entirely.
That's
because
right.
Their numbers are different.
Yes.
So they have their year 2048 is actually the year 5808. And I see Sarah; she's pulling up her Moedim.
5785.
So
That's
they're
what
now
I
the year 5785
Yes.
from the Hebrew standpoint. So we're in 2024; they're in 5785. What's the time of the 2048 when everything goes black? That is the year 5808 from the Israeli standpoint, which is our equivalent of 2048. And so the collection of the priesthood was 8580. So that's another confirmation that we use to let you know that the time is short. My brother, thank you. That was great. Yes. I love hearing you guys teach more than I like to hear myself talk.
Well, you are sitting in for the rabbi.
I have the feeling for the rabbi because the rabbi
Until he returns.
Until the rabbi returns. So yes, I'll do it. I'll do it. He even so, come quickly. So now let's get into our final segment of this teaching, and then we're going to go into in media. Our final segment is we're going to show you. We're going to take you behind the curtain, as they would say, to show you how we read the timeline.
Yes.
So we gave you all that information. We showed you that from 2020, we were talking about the same timeline. 2022, Yahweh pulled us and showed us information from the timeline. And now in 2024, we're going to sit right here. We're going to lay out the timeline for you and show you everything to look out for as it relates to the synergy between Assyria and America. So you're going to want to make sure you bookmark this, download this episode if you can, because YouTube is going back and they are actually deleting some of our episodes from 2020. Yes, shame on you, YouTube, but we have our stuff hard copy.
Yes.
But make sure you get this episode, because this is going to be one of those episodes that complements our 2020 episode, where we laid out everything between 2020 and 2032. This is going to give you even more information. As I said, the more we do this, the more we study, the more time moves forward, the more clarity we get out of this.
Yes.
So this is the Assyrian timeline. What you see at the bottom of your screen, this is the Assyrian timeline, which really is the timeline of world history up to where we are right now. And I'll explain exactly what we mean. So if you look at that first point, and let me make sure I get the hands correct. So if you look at this first point over here by Lady Say, yes, over here by Lady Say, that is 2025 BC. That is when Sargon of Akkad, that's when he founded Assyria. Not founded Assyria, because you know Assyria, as we talked about in Ezekiel 31, Assyria is almost as old as Eden.
That's old.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we ended our season 4, we recapped the letter to Assyria, Ezekiel 31. We gave you all the information in Ezekiel 31. We talked about Assyria being, you know, the pride and had trees just like they did in Eden. So Assyria was very near and dear to Yahweh's heart. So 2025 is when they become a city-state politically. Everything's modernizing, and Assyria said we must modernize too. Let's forget about this old empire idea and let's modernize into the new world. So 2025, Sargon of Akkad decides to modernize Assyria into a political state. It stays like that for about 200 years, and then enrolls Shamshi-Adad the First. Shamshi-Adad the First comes in 1809, and by 1776, he successfully unites Assyria with 3 other kingdoms. Babylon even gets thrown into the mix in this, if you can believe it, in Nineveh. But he unites the kingdoms. Fast forward another 1,000 years, and you wind up to Shamshi-Adad the Fifth. He and Samur-Ramat, they're ruling from 824 BC until 811 BC. We're going to mark that as the time frame when Samur-Ramat emerges. That's 811 BC. Go forward another 90 years and you end up at 722 BC. Why is that important to us? 811 BC is recorded biblically as when Athaliah takes over the empire after Ahab and Jezebel dies.
Athaliah, yes.
Okay, so she is ruling and running congruent with Samur-Ramat in 811 BC in Israel. And 722 BC, about 90 years later, that's when the Assyrians come in and they conquer northern Israel. And then they start sending letters to Hezekiah, telling Hezekiah, we're coming to do the south. So Sennacherib, that's when he comes into power. Of course, Yahweh allows northern Israel to become subjects to Assyria, but he protects the southern Israel, which is where his temple is, and they become very arrogant and cocky about that protection. 612 BC now, we're going to move another 110 years forward, and we get to where Assyria is conquered by Babylon. Yes. Nebuchadnezzar, he starts his Babylonian expansion. Yes. The first thing he sees is his neighbor in the north, which is Assyria. He conquers Assyria. Now he expands his territory. Then he joins up with the Medes and the Persians, and they eye all of Mesopotamia. And we talked about this in season 4 as well. They have a meeting in Israel where they want to get together to see how they're going to withstand Nebuchadnezzar, and Jeremiah stands up in the meeting. He says, Yahweh said, you better go with him because he's given everything over to his hand. So fast forward another 605 BC, and that's when Jerusalem is conquered. Now we're in the time frame of Ezekiel and Daniel, where they're now subjected in the south, in Jerusalem, and Nebuchadnezzar says, I want all the handsome young men, I want all the intelligent young men, bring them to Babylon, and they're going to be my servants. And then 586 BC is when Babylon says, I've had enough. I'm going to crush this temple that you say is Yahweh's temple, and I'm going to take all the good items out of it, and I'm going to take it to my home in Babylon. So that right there is your recap of Assyria from 2025 BC until they were dominated, and then Israel, along with it, were dominated by Babylon in 586 BC. Why are we showing you this? It's because when you talk about Revelation, when you talk about the mark and all of these things, the Bible says it takes wisdom. So if you can figure out some landmarks between one point and the next, you can use that as a proportionate measure mathematically to say, okay, if this span was 100 years back then, but it's 50 years now, and something happened 50 years later, then that's going to be 25 years later in our time. So that's what we did. We took the Assyrian timeline and we superimposed it over our timeline. And guess what? Everything is lining up verbatim. What do we mean? Show us the bronze. Okay, so take a look at this. This is the American timeline. So American timeline, if you take the date of 1776 and use that as the equivalent for 2025 BC, then 811 BC, when Samur-Ramat rules, will now become 2025 AD. And that becomes your proportionate measure. So again, this is math, but as the Bible says, you need wisdom to understand these things. So it's going to take a little bit of work, but we're going to hold your hand if you're not good at math, and we're going to walk you through everything nice and slowly so that you can feel confident in this. So what does that mean? Can we fill in the rest of those dots based on this timeline? Of course we can. And this is what it would look like if you filled in the rest of those dots. So we've got AD 1776, which is when America was founded, and that runs congruent with 2025 BC. So we've lined those two up together for you. When you move forward to 811 BC at the bottom, that's 2025 AD on the American timeline at the top. So based on that proportionate measure, we can now fill in the rest of these dates. And that's what the dates look like when you come to the time. So if Samuramat emerges in 2025 and the Maharanian candidate emerges in 2025, then 2043 is when you can expect the mark of the beast to be alpha tested. Why do we call it alpha testing? Because in 722 BC, only northern Israel was subjected by the Assyrians, not the south. So that means the people of Yahweh were not fully subjected at that point. So you can't say they're going to be subjected by the mark of the beast fully, because at 722 BC, the people of Yahweh were not subjected fully. Right. So 2043 is when the mark is alpha tested. And that's just how we know that there are going to be stages to rolling out the mark of the beast, because of what happened in Assyria. 612 BC is 2066, which is when the mark becomes beta tested. 605 BC is 2067, when the mark is deployed, because that is when Babylon came in and they took both Israel and Assyria. And then the final thing that happened when Israel was completely destroyed and the temple was destroyed was 586 BC. That lines up with AD 2077. Now, I know most of you are thinking, wait a minute, you just said 2048, that's nothing after the time.
Yes.
So how do we get all the way down to 2077?
How do you get there, brother?
How do you get there? You guys, y'all are making sense. Is the timeline right or is the timeline wrong?
Yes.
Are you guys just guessing at this?
The timeline will make itself clear.
Yeah, the timeline must make itself clear, right? Because the timeline is always right. You know?
That's it.
Yes,
it has to. Okay, so let's go back to our good buddy Daniel, because he said something very interesting. So just to recap, our time frame for the mark being released is 2045. But if you compare that to this, our timeline is way off, right?
Yes.
Because it's going to 2077. So our timeline says 2077, and this says 2045 for the release. That means our timeline is way off.
Way off.
So how do we account for this? So let's go to Daniel. Remember, Daniel gave us this information, and Sarah, you explained this in episode 2, I believe, of season 4.
Yes, you did.
You told us about the time. You told us about the times and the dividing of time. Half time. So you have time, which is 1, times, which is 2, dividing of time, which is half.
Half of the time.
Okay?
Yes.
So how can we lay this out? Well, we have to go back to what Daniel said. And Daniel said you have to, when you're studying Revelation and the book of Daniel, you have to look at time, times, and the dividing of time. So here's what we do. From 2025 BC to 676 BC would be considered time. Why are we considering that year specifically, 676 BC? That's because that's the year that marked the halfway point of King Manasseh. Now, we covered King Manasseh as well when we talked about the mark of the beast, the economical. So this goes back to our teaching way back then. And Manasseh ruled from 697 BC all the way up to 642 BC. So Manasseh was in power for a very long time. And what he did was he became more and more depraved as time went on. So he started off small with his pagan worship. He started worshiping on the hills and the mountains. Then Yahweh said he got bold and brought his idols into the city. Then Yahweh said he got real bold and brought the idols into the temple. Then Yahweh said the worst thing he did was he brought the idols in the temple and sacrificed his son. He said he caused his son to pass through the fire. So Yahweh said once he did that, and this is around the halfway point of his reign, which was around 676 BC, I believe that he caused his son to pass through the fire around 666 BC. Because this is the height of paganism. Yeah, this is the height of paganism in Israel. They've never seen paganism at this level. Where you bring idol worship and sacrificing human beings in the temple.
Yes.
This is unheard of. So Yahweh said, I am so angry with you, Manasseh, that I'm going to cause the Assyrians to come for you, and the Assyrians lock him up. They don't take him to Assyria. Where do they take him? They take him to Babylon. And he sits in Babylon in a Babylonian prison until he repents, and then Yahweh actually restores this guy back to office, if you can believe that, with hooks in him. Yes. So he became the template for what it looks like when you abandon Yahweh's service as the king of Israel, and you become subject to Babylon. And so he serves as a parable for what is about to come. So we take his reign, we take the halfway point of his reign when he gets into that heat of paganism, and we use that as our halfway marker point, showing time, because that's when Assyria comes in and takes him to Babylon. So that marks Assyrian power.
That's the initial entry.
Up until they come and step foot in Israel.
Yes.
So that's time.
Yes.
Now, what is times? Well, times has to be twice as long as time, right? So if you do your math from 2025 to 676 BC is about 1,350 years. That means you have to go forward another 2,700 years to get to the end of the times section. So you start off times at 2025 BC to 676 BC. That's time. Times is going to be twice as long. So if you start at 676 BC and you move through times, guess where that takes you? Directly to AD 2025. Next year. So at next year, we close off the times. So you know, in Assyria, you have all these great rulers, but in Babylon, you also have all these great rulers as well. And just at the bottom of the graphic, you'll see Samuramat, Shamshidad V, Adad-Nirad III. You'll see Sennacherib, and you see Ashurbanipal, who Joe also talked about in season 4. You know, we talked about Ashurbanipal and, you know, all the things that he did for Assyria. And that's one of the graphics that we used when we talked about Ashurbanipal. You remember that Joe talked about the library? He was one of the last great kings of Assyria before Nebuchadnezzar came in 612 BC and dominated Assyria. So he's one of the last great kings. They're
all Assyrian.
They're all Assyrian. That's what he said. Come and join.
Yes, we are all Assyrian.
You're all Assyrian now. So what does that mean for our timeline then, if we are now at times? Well, now we have to move into what they call the dividing of times. So that means dividing of time. So whatever happens after 2025, it has to happen in half the time.
As the time.
As the time. Yeah, as the time period. So if you know what the time period is, if the time period is 30 years, everything has to happen within 15 years.
That's right.
Because the timeline has to be right and the timeline has to make sense. The timeline is always right. That's something that we say in the deep. The timeline is always right. We may be wrong, but the timeline is always right. So what does that look like when you take that into consideration? Well, we still start at 1776. But once we hit 2025, everything after that happens in half the time. So at the bottom, you see from 2025 to 2043 is when we're talking about the mark of the beast. Now that 2043 at the top becomes 2034 because time has been cut in half. And then from 2034, you get to 2045, which is the mark of the beast, which is beta tested. And then 2046, which is the mark of the beast, is deployed. And then 2048 is when everything wraps up. And you see the timeline now fits perfectly with everything we've been sharing with you since the beginning of our political episode in 2020. And we give y'all, I want to give y'all a hand clap. Yes. You know,
for the time.
Glory.
Yes, we give him all the glory.
It's a lot of work studying at this level because you have to confirm what Yahweh is saying to you in the spirit, and then you have to go and you have to spread the Bible out because whatever you share cannot be against what the Bible shares.
Never.
No,
But
then it also you cannot rewrite history. So you have to have a historical account that's accurate. You have to have the Bible that's accurate, and you have to lay everything out together so that it all makes sense.
Amen.
So we thank Yahweh because He has shown us everything, and we give Him praise for that.
Brother, you said it well.
Yes.
Historical event is accurate. The Bible is accurate.
Yes.
So whatever you present must be accurate.
It must be accurate, and you have to have the evidence.
That's
so now I want you to know, after 2028, everything is possible. So our dates, when we talk about the mark of the beast being deployed, That could happen anytime after 2028. So we are not fixed on those dates on when it could happen because, you know, it could happen in 2034, it could happen in 2045.
Right.
As you see at the top, it could happen in 2046, or it happens in 2048. All we know is that it will happen. It will happen. So you have to be prepared because Yahweh said that he has to cut the day short. So that means we may be talking about dividing time in half, but Yahweh may be dividing time in quarters. All we know is that he has to cut time short because of his elect's sake.
Yes, for the very elect.
The very elect. So what that means is now is not the time to be playing games. You have to be real with what your relationship is with Yahweh, and you have to prepare yourself knowing that Yahweh is soon to come, and the information that he has given us biblically is real. Now, what does that mean about the Pope? Because we've talked about the Pope for so many seasons. We've been talking about him since 2025. We prophesied that, you know, Pope Benedict the 16th, that he was going to step down, and it was not that he was going to die in office. It was that he was going to step down and have another Pope come in, and that happened exactly as we said.
Another Pope with a new name.
Another Pope with a new name, and then we had Francis I. The question is, does Francis I have enough legs? Does he have enough leg strength within him? He's in his 80s now.
He's in a wheelchair now.
And in a wheelchair. So does he have enough stamina to make it for the next 24 years? If you look at the timeline, I'm going to bring this back up for you because there's something that we didn't discuss on the timeline. Well, it's right at the bottom. Right after 80-20-25, you have what we call the imposter come up. How do we know that happens right after 80-20-25? Well, if you go back to the Assyrian timeline, remember the Assyrian timeline always helps to make everything make sense, right? If you go back to the Assyrian timeline, you had at the bottom, after 811 BC, Adad-Nirari III. He rules after his mom allows him to, because she ruled for 5 years until he became of age, and then he took the throne. We mark Adad-Nirari's reign with the introduction of the imposter. After Samuramat emerges, who we call the Maharanian candidate. So we mark that according to that information. So that means from my perspective now, from my perspective.
Your perspective.
Yes, mine. That we have to expect that there is somebody else coming on the scene that the next president of the United States is paving the way for. And we could expect their emergence to come within 5 years. But if we're in half the time, it has to be within 2.5 years.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all know this, excuse me.
Yes, go ahead.
But they have a movie in theaters now called Conclave.
Yes.
And it's actually talking about the death of the Pope.
Right.
So I don't know if that, we know that the movie industry is prophetic.
Mm-hmm.
That may be not into something that's to come.
Right.
So I just wanted to plug that in there.
And that makes sense because we sat together in 2022, February 2022, Tuesday. We were preparing for Tuesday. We were going to shake heaven on Tuesday, remember?
Yes.
It was February 22nd, 2022. That was six twos lined
indeed.
up.
Yes, indeed.
And we sat in a meeting 2 weeks before that happened, and we looked at the timeline, and we noticed that it was 2022. In 1922, there was a Pope, and I believe the Pope was Benedict. That Pope died in 1922. America is on a 100-year timeline, which means events must line up and they must repeat. Are you going to do the research? You're going to do some research? I thought you were going to look and see if I was correct. Yeah, see if 1922 Pope died. See which Pope it was and what was his name. So based on that, though, we looked at that time and we said, okay, if America's on a 100-year timeline, we give you another clue. So you go back 100 years from now to 1924 and some of the things that you see in 1924, some of the same similarities that you see in 2024. We said based on that, the Pope is going to probably die by the end of 2022.
Yeah.
And
Pope Benedict
the 15th, yeah, 1922.
January 22nd, 1922.
Right, January 22nd. Wow. So based on that, we said, okay, we can expect Benedict to probably have something happen to him, some kind of circumstance.
And he was the 16th.
And he was the Benedict the 16th.
Yeah.
So he died. He made it almost to 2023. I think he died somewhere in the 20th of December, if I'm not mistaken. 26, 28. He almost made it. But the timeline is always right.
Yes.
The timeline is always right. So when the timeline has something and the timeline says this is going to happen and this is certified, you can't change the timeline. So what does this mean? What does this mean?
Yes.
This takes me back to...
He died last day of 2022.
He died December 31st? Wow.
Yeah, he couldn't make it.
He couldn't make it. He couldn't make it.
The 22 was
Wow.
stuck with him.
Yes, the 22.
22.
December 31st.
Yeah, December 31st.
Couldn't push it.
He couldn't push it. He looked through the curtain. He said, I see 2023. I'm almost
Yes.
there.
Almost there.
Let me get through.
If I make it to 2023, I think I'm going to make it.
I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get back in office.
Yes.
Wow. The time, but this is how we study. So we sit down and talk about things, and it comes to pass. But this takes me back to when Yahweh showed me back in 2022. 1223. What does 1223 mean? Because, a lot of times people will lie and tell you that Yahweh shows them everything. I'll tell you Yahweh shows me a quarter of what he would want me to know and then dares me to prophesy it. At this point, I could care less. It really doesn't matter to me because this is not about accuracy. This is not about a name. This is all about making sure that the people around you are aware of what's happening. So to the benefit of them experiencing eternal life. That's the most important thing. So when we share information, it's not for people to say, oh, you guys are so deep and so prophetic. No, we're only deep because Yahweh shows us things and we spend a lot of time studying.
That's right.
We live this.
It's a warning.
Yeah, it's a warning.
We live it. And
we live this.
He's taking note of us. So
He's taking note of us.
Sure we align with him.
Correct.
That's most important.
Correct. And our connections are deep as well. Because Joe, my grandparents and Joe's grandparents, they met in the Virgin Islands in the late 60s, early 70s. And Joe and I didn't meet until 2011. So we were connected for 5 decades, but it materialized when Yahweh's timeline said it was correct.
That's right.
Yes. Sarah and I, our grandparents, also knew each other from the 60s. So, and I didn't meet her until 2000. I met her brother 5 years before I met her in the same island. So, when Yahweh has his time set for certain things, then it manifests itself. I mean, it's so on point that even our mothers wore the same wedding dress at their wedding.
That's true.
Didn't know each other. So Yahweh, he's laughing upstairs because he has everything connected and he lays things out strategically so that when you discover something, you say, wow, Yahweh, I can't believe you're this great and you're so awesome. He is the best. He makes things happen and he's beautiful. Awesome. But this takes me back to 1223.
So Yahweh's doing his marvelous.
Yahweh's doing his marvelous. And I'm watching 1223. I'm watching Biden. And I'll tell you who I'm watching. I'm watching Biden. I'm watching Trump. I'm watching Harris. I'm watching Haley. Watching RFK Jr. That's from the political side. Then I'm also watching the Quadriumvirate, and we'll talk about who they are when we get to the media section. And I'm also watching the Vatican. My eyes are sharp on the Vatican because as the Maharanian emerges next week, Tuesday, then certain things in the timeline now begin to certify. And we can expect something to happen 1223. Whether it's 1223 of this year or 1223 next year. Whenever it happens, we're going to call it. And we're going to say, this is what Yahweh was talking about. So we're keeping our eyes on that. We're keeping our eyes on that. But if it's 5 years, because remember, Samuel ruled for 5 years, 811 to 806 BC, and then she brought Merari on the scene. So should the Maharanian reign in 2025, it's not going to be 5 years later, which is 2030, because we're in the dividing time section now.
Yes.
So it's going to be 2.5 years later. And guess what happens 2.5 years later after 2025? Congress turns 120. So do you see how everything lines up? So I told somebody one time, I said, listen, we issued like over 100 prophecies that are all coming to pass in 2020. And we issued probably 100 more in 2024. We can't even keep track of all the things we've shared. We have the information certified, but we can't keep track of all of it because everything unfolds so quickly and Yahweh speaks so rapidly that as soon as you move on from one thing, Yahweh already has you discovering and studying the next thing. So we spend our time in constant preparation, constantly studying. And when we bring information to you, we already studied it 5 or 6 times before we present it. And we study for accuracy mathematically, historically, and biblically to make sure that when we present to you, we present good food.
Yeah, and you got to keep up with the one who doesn't sleep.
Yeah, you have to keep up with the one who doesn't sleep because he wants to talk. Mm-hmm. And that brings us to the closing segment of this before we go into in media. Between April and September of 2025, you can expect plague 2 to happen. We gave you this information earlier this year. In fact, we laid this out in 2020 as well. So we gave you a blueprint. We told you that, the coronavirus, back in August of 2020, we said that it's going to last until February 2023. And a lot of people were like, how, you guys, what are you talking about? Where you get that information from? And then February 2023, Biden releases the documentation that they're ending COVID relief. Northern Medical, on their website, they track everything that happened medically. And at February of 2023, all their information just stopped because in their mind, COVID was already subdued. It was no longer a threat pandemic. It was now something that would be not micromanaged, but macromanaged. They're going to oversee it, but there's no expectancy that it would ever flare up again to the magnitude that it captured the world in 2020. So that's done with. So what's on the agenda now? There are 10 plagues that are going to happen between 2020 and 2048. We are going to go into plague number 2. What does that look like? It's going to be mass hysteria. There are going to be people losing their minds. Literally, because Yahweh showed it. We have people losing their minds, losing their mental faculties. They're just upset, delusional, and it's going to be something that you could have pockets of it where there's pockets of safety. So you really have to guard your mind and your heart. Make sure that you take care to read your word and speak the word of life over you, over your children, over your family, over your spouses, over your business, over everything that Yahweh has given you, all the assets, because there are going to be a lot of challenges mentally for a lot of people. And we've seen that on the rise in the last 4 years. We've seen dementia just reach a whole new level.
Yes.
And this year, in fact, just this week, Sarah sent me an article, and I have the photo right there. Atlanta's preparing themselves already. They've opened up a second wing where they're trying to divert those who are mentally challenged and experience mental health issues and not have them incarcerated, but bring them into a separate program. So they just had the ribbon cutting for that. Yeah. So in 2024, the great cities of America are preparing. They know what's coming. They're aware. They're preparing themselves. And so Yahweh doesn't want you to be caught off guard. He wants you to be prepared as well. Yes. So we're sharing that information with you so that when these things do happen, you already have a safety net where you've already protected your home and sealed your home against this pending doom. Now, the sad part about this is COVID was about 3.5 years.
Yes.
About 3.5 years of mask wearing and legislation and all of that. This one in 2025 is going to hit. And while we're experiencing the height of it, there's going to be a third plague that's going to hit, whilst number 2 is still in session, because everything happens faster. You can expect that. So we want you to be prepared. We're going to talk about that because that comes in 2027. That's too far. I said, Yahweh, we're going to have to stop this now. These prophecies that you give, and you have to wait 5 and 6 years for them to manifest, that's a lot of waiting, because a lot of times Yahweh would also close off his prophetic word to you until things come to pass, because he doesn't want you prophesying all day and all night. These guys who get up on Zoom, and they say, give me $10 and I'll prophesy to you. I don't know which Yahweh they're prophesying from. It's not the one that we worship. But
the prophet liars.
Prophet liars. That's a good segue point, Joe, because on that point, we're going to move into our favorite section. And this is our short and sweet section. In media. We give Yahweh all the glory.
Not Persia,
but media. Media.
The prophetic voice of the dark.
And we're still in 2025. We're still covering election 2024. But in media, we're going to have the special thing that we talk about today. But, as always, we have to big up our partner. We are affiliates with this great company, so we want.
I don't know if you know this, but us dogs love to cuss. That's nasty, Frank, you filthy animal. But my humans don't like swearing. That's why they subscribe to VidAngel. It's a filtering service that lets you take out nasty language and whatever else you don't want to see or hear in your favorite shows. You should have seen our family movie nights before we had VidAngel.
The last time, you piece of...
Wait, where's the remote?
I'm gonna get you.
It's PG-13. I got it.
I can't wait to say that at school tomorrow.
He takes after me. VidAngel has detailed filters. You can mute the words that hurt your ears and skip the scenes that hurt your eyes.
S words? No. Fight scene? Yeah. Woman strokes naked man's chest? No, thank you.
VidAngel connects to your favorite streaming services, so there's plenty to see, and you never see too much. So get VidAngel and put swears on a leash. VidAngel. Watch more, worry less.
Sign up today at vidangel.com using the promo code DEEPDIVE and get 2 weeks free, courtesy of your favorite scholars over at the Deep Ecclesia.
Well, that's our peeps. That's our peeps. Yes. So that's our
VidAngel.
Yeah, VidAngel. That's our partner, man. We've been with VidAngel for a number of years now because we have to keep our eye on what's going on in media, and we've been making sure that strategically we watch certain films so that because Yahweh speaks a lot through different mediums, and so media has now taken upon themselves to use the arts as a dark prophecy platform.
Yes.
So we watch certain things that they produce. And one of the things that they produced this year is this film. The film is called Civil War. It came out this year, this spring, 2024. And we talked about this briefly in one of our episodes, but we didn't watch it, so we couldn't break it down. But over the summer, we did get a chance to watch it. And I will tell you, this thing is very insightful. So take a look at this trailer for Civil War.
19 states have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
Are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
We just try to stay out with what we see on the news. Seems like it's for the best.
Citizens of America, the so-called Western forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens?
They're moving to D.C. today.
You need to go down there.
They shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol.
Every instinct in me says this is death.
Blooded.
Every time I survived a war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? Well, you're American, okay?
Okay. What kind of American are you? You don't know?
The Western forces will reach the White House on July 4th.
Oh my God.
Get in the car! Get in the car! Move, move, move!
You're gonna hang back.
I'm not hanging back.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go, 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 go!
God bless America.
Yes, so that is the movie Civil War.
That's a heavy one.
Yeah, that's a heavy one. We watched it and I was literally on the edge of my seat for the whole. It was just one of those films that is gritty and is raw, but it shows you what a civil war would look like in our modern times. So there are a few things to note about that film. First off, it was written by one of the writers of 28 Days Later. So we talked about that movie
Yes.
in season 4 as well, and that is another timeline clue that certifies that something is coming in 2025, other than the anointing of a new president. There's also this pandemic, number 2, that we are focused on. We're going to talk about that more in season 5. But there are a few things to note about this movie. Not only was it written by one of the writers for 28 Days Later, but if you look at Nick Offerman, who's playing the president, and this is in spring of 2024 that it came out, he looks eerily similar to J.D. Vance.
Yeah, and it came out before J.D. Vance was even named.
It came out before he was
That's
named.
true.
Yes. So he looks a whole lot like J.D. Vance, and he gives this monologue in the beginning of the film, and I'm going to play that for you in a second. But I just thought that was so uncanny. But here's the thing about J.D. Vance. So he is the one that's married to the Maharanian candidate, so to speak, one of them, Usher Vance. So he would be the likely conduit for Trump, because everybody's trying to figure out why did Trump pick this guy. He would be the likely conduit for Trump to get into the White House based on the prophet, based on his marriage to Usher Vance. But if he does that, then you would see this narrative unfold, because this whole movie, Civil War, it takes place during the president's third term. So should Trump take the White House, this is going to be a second term, and then Project 2025 already says that they're going to put in the clause for him to be able to run for president again for a third term. And at that point, he's going to be, what, 85?
80-something. He's an
Yeah,
old man.
yeah. So take a look at the president's speech.
Some are calling it already. We are closer than we have ever been to victory. Some are already calling it the greatest victory in the history of military campaigns. Today, I can announce that the so-called Western forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great loss, a very great defeat.
At the hands of the fighting men and women of the United States military. The people of Texas and California should know that they will be welcomed back to these United States as soon as their illegal secessionist government is deposed. I can also confirm that the Florida Alliance has failed in its attempt to force the brave people of the Carolinas into joining the insurrection. Citizens of America, we are now closer than ever to a historic victory as we eliminate the final pockets of resistance. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Yes. So one of the things that is so pivotal in the movie is the fact that as it starts, he's giving himself a pep talk. Like, the speech was not written for him, but what he's about to say in the speech is a bunch of lies. Because he's talking about the victory, but in the streets you see pandemonium, and you also see the Western forces. So in this film, California and Texas actually come together. This is happening economically right now in the West. So they came together to form a political state, a two-state solution, and then you have Florida trying to form. So at that point in the film, there are 5 different countries on the soil within the United States. They're broken up into five countries. And they said that 19 states had seceded, meaning they left the Union, which is something that is illegal per Abraham Lincoln and the Constitution. Because they tried to do that in the South, which led to the Civil War. So this is a repeat of that. But what this means prophetically is, this is the enemy showing you that there's another avenue to take, where there's another, as Sarah said, prophetically, we already know who the Maharanian candidate is. We already know who the Maharanian president is. So this is just another offshoot of what could happen, but Yahweh is saying that this is an unlikely scenario. Why? Because here's what he would have to do in order to defeat these people. Number one, J.D. Vance would have to. You did it? Oh, try it again. Try it. Yeah, perfect. Sorry, we got some technical difficulties, but in order for this to happen, you know, a lot of things would have to come into place. Yes. First of all, Trump, they would have to defeat the quadriumvirate right now. This coalition. So this is the U.S. quadriumvirate. So this is Lamech's children in 2024.
Yes.
These are political giants.
Yes.
Who have come together to make this possible. And everybody's black now. So you got Bill Clinton, he sounds black. He's always a black president. You got Obama now rapping Eminem.
Yes.
Yeah, you got Obama rapping Eminem. Yeah, you got Biden and Jill out there. And so you have these four powerful political forces, plus the whole slew of other people who are coming together to solidify this Maharanian presidency. And it's looking close now from a poll standpoint. But from Yahweh's standpoint, he's already decided who the candidate will be. And I know if my brother BJ is on, he would want us to say, tell us, who is it going to be? Are you guys saying that this is going to happen? We're telling you what's on the timeline, and you read the timeline.
That's
whatever the timeline tells you is happening, that is what's going to happen.
Yes, indeed.
So read the timeline. So you'd have to also, they would also have to defeat our 2020 election prophecy, because that prophecy was tied to 2024 as well. FDR. So yeah, they would have to defeat that prophecy as well in order for them to clinch this nomination. Right, yeah, that's the one that we gave way back in 2019 and it was manifested in 2020. They also have to defeat the circle of fifths prophecy in order for them to clinch this nomination. They also have to defeat this 2022 prophecy in order for them to clinch the nomination. And they also have to defeat this U.S. timeline prophecy, which talks about the Maharanian emerging in 2025. So December 12, 23, 23rd of December, we don't know what's going to happen, but I believe that this will not be a, it says, I will not go gently into that good night.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that this is going to be Rage Against the Dying of the Light. I don't expect this to be a peaceful transfer of power, not from a democratic standpoint, but from a I lost the election standpoint from both sides. I don't think anybody's gonna admit defeat quickly on Tuesday. But if it does happen, then to Yahweh be the glory. We're not concerned about that. We want to see Yahweh manifest great things, and we believe He will do it. So that is our show.
But I wanted to
study.
add something.
Yes,
you talked about the Civil War movie.
Yes.
Marvel is also doing some speaking as well, because next year, February 2025, they're scheduled to release the new Captain America movie.
Yes. Yes.
Which was originally titled New World Order.
Yes.
But they went back and they retitled it as Brave New World.
Brave New World.
So we are entering a brave new world.
Yes.
Either way you put it.
And we watch Marvel all the time. We watch for Marvel because this goes back to Exodus. The Bible bookmarks the word Marvel, Exodus and Revelation. In Exodus, he says that I will do marvels in front of Pharaoh so that he will let my people go.
That's right.
And then in Revelation, John is with the angel, and the angel shows him the beast and its power. And John is in awe, and the angel asks John, why did you marvel? So Marvel has been one of those companies that have been prophetic all the way from their inception, because they came out of church. These guys were in Sunday school, and they heard the story of Samson. Same thing with Superman. So these were Stanley.
He's Jewish too.
Correct, and he's Jewish. So these came out. These stories and these superheroes came out of the Bible, because Yeshua was the original one who could turn invisible, who could fly, who could do all these great things.
Like the song says, no superhero can
No superhero can compare. My God.
That's right.
Yes, Sarah's song. Beautiful song. So I thank you, Joe. Thank you, my brother, man. It's so good, man.
Yahweh glory.
Thank you, my sister. You're always so lovely, so kind.
Yes.
Did they see that pin? That's such a beautiful pin you have.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the eagle.
The eagle.
The eagle.
The bald eagle.
The bald eagle, yes. Wow, that's beautiful.
The free bird of America.
And of course, Joe and I, we've got
right?
our flags, we've got our ties,
indeed.
we've got our pin, we've got everything. I had to turn the computer sideways today because
Yes.
you had to see the political outfit for
indeed. Yes,
Sanaa
indeed.
didn't allow me to wear her glasses this episode, but that's okay.
You didn't get the glasses.
I didn't get the glasses this time.
Yeah,
but
you
that's
didn't get
okay.
the glasses for the...
No, she didn't allow me to get the glasses, but that's okay. That's okay. Next year, 2028, next political episode, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know, with Marvel, they're gonna cause us to switch our eyes from the eagle to the falcon.
There you go, because it was handed over. Joe Biden handed it to Obama.
Exactly.
And if you watch what was the End Game, then you'd know exactly what we're talking about. The End Game. So yeah, that was the passing of the torch.
Yep.
That's right. So thank you, tech team. Thank you, Sanaa. Thank you, Aaron. You
Woo!
guys are fabulous. You guys love you so much. We couldn't do this without you. We want to say thanks to our digital assistants as well. Thank you, Mama G. Thank you. Thank you, JJ. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate all of you. And as always, if you feel led, you feel blessed, you said, wow, this was some great information. I wish I could support you guys financially. Then yes, there's a way to do it right on PayPal. You can use coin at thedeep.one. You can also send Zelle. You can also go to our website, www.thedeep.one, and you can partner with us. We have many different partnership opportunities for you to partner with us so that you can sow into the deep. And when you sow into the deep, we use those funds to help us broadcast. So we give Yahweh praise. We give him thanks for everything that he has done for us. And we will continue to seek him. Thank you, Madam Sam Williams. She is one who has also decided to partner with us financially, Shanika as well. So we thank you guys for your partnership. We do appreciate you. Thank you, Micah, for your assistance as well. Everything you do helps us to share the word. As you know, we love the word of God. We love the Bibles. We love everything about it. We love it. It's great. We're gonna make the deep great again.
Yes, you're gonna make the deep great again.
And guess what? By the way, you can't speak
like
that.
That's right. You can't say that on the show. Yes, okay. So look at that. All our lights are going topsy-turvy. Why? Our lights are trying to get us to come off? No, we're not shutting down yet. So thank you guys. Thank you as well, Siobhan. We appreciate you because we always see you. Thank you, Kamala. We see you as well. We thank you for liking our content and sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Uncle Howard, yes, thank you.
Yes,
Deacon. Heston, oh, that's my brother. Oh, man. Listen, Heston Dean. Yes, sir. Yes, Keelas. How are you, my sister? How are you, Sister Grant? Condolences to you as well. Yes, and my Aunt Kate's. Hey, Aunt Kate's. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. You've got Chad. He's in the house. Good to see you, my brother. As always.
Good friend Chad.
Yes, Sister Debbie Grant. Oh, yes, and yes, condolences to you, my sister, as well. We mentioned the Grant and the Dickinsons, so condolences to you. Yes, that's our good buddy. The business lady. Miss Ivy, yes, the legend who is Miss Ivy. Always glad to have you. Always glad to have you. We knew Mike was going to be on. Hey, Melvin, what's up, man? Glad to have you, brother. Yes, and Edris Bo, we thank Yahweh for you as well. Madam Kimberly Gordon, thank you. The Covenant Embassy, of course, that would be Madam Nicolette. Yes, thank you, Brother Robert Williams. I'm assuming you're my family. If you're a Williams man, you're a great man. And my aunt Trudy, she is here, always supporting. We thank you. The Finlaysons are in the house. Yes, Madam Sam, Sister Lola Knowles, glad to have you as well. Appreciate you being here. Madam Jessica, I hope you're still on, Jessica. Oh boy, Jessica. Jessica, what are they doing in your neck of the woods, man? What are they doing at the home? The home for the aged and the elderly, man. What's going on the beautiful island of Grand Bahama? We turn our back for 1 second and all of a sudden y'all are undercutting people, man. What's happening? What's happening in 2024? Tell us, please.
Trump said they're eating the cats.
They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, and they're taking the houses. Wow. Wow. Hey, Camille, glad to have you. Glad to have you with us. We appreciate you. Madam Shanika, yes, glad to have you as well. My sister. You're awesome. You're fabulous. We appreciate you very much. Thank you, all of you.
Yes, listen, all of you. Yes,
we have one more episode that's coming up. We have one more episode coming up in 2024. This episode is going to be all about ending 2024 strong and being prepared for 2025.
Yes.
So we're going to cover some information that's going to help you end 2024 strong. Guard your mind, guard your heart, get yourself prepared, even financially for what's coming. Because we expect Yahweh to open up some doors. One of the things that Yahweh, I had to go quiet in 2022 because I said, Yahweh, this doesn't make sense what you're doing financially, so you got to open up some doors. And he asked me to share some things, and I said, I'll share it when you release. And then one time he said, you better start talking before I start walking. So I said, okay, then. If you're going to play hardball, I guess I got to...
all right, Jonah.
No choice. You have no choice.
All right, Jonah.
You have no choice. So you know, we did what Yahweh asked us to do.
Yes. Better start talking.
Yes. And he was talking all the while. So I thank him for being patient with me.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen.
Sarah says, thank you, Yahweh.
Oh,
She says, don't be disobedient. She always tells me that. I said, Sarah, you don't understand the relationship with Yahweh and I have.
I know.
We are homeboys, man. We tight.
Yes.
You know, when he rubs me the wrong way, then I get to express that to him.
That's right.
And when I rub him the wrong way, then I go on my knees and my face and I ask him, please,
yes,
forgive me. Don't strike me.
I go on my knees too, you know.
She goes on her
just
knees.
for extra coverage.
Yeah, she's like, yeah,
all right, Joe.
She said this boy is stubborn.
Very.
She said, Yahweh, you talk to the most stubborn people, you know, biblically. Why do you do that? So, but you know, he does it because he knows that my heart, I love him and I appreciate him. But when things don't make sense, you have to make it make sense, Yahweh, before we can move forward. So yeah, from a 2024 standpoint, we shared the 2020 election. We shared the 2021 election for the Bahamas. Remember back in 2020, we told everybody that to expect the election in 2021, even though it was on schedule for 2022. We shared that. And that's another one of those prophecies. I guess you have to go back and make a video about that because people will probably say, you guys didn't talk about that in 2020. We did. We have too many prophecies out there just hanging. So we have to do better at compiling. I'm going to put Sanan and Aaron in charge of that. Get all the prophecies and compile them and then share them with the people so they could know what we shared in the deep. And then we could also keep abreast of some of the things that happened. But besides that, we thank Yahweh for you. We thank Yahweh for your partnership. We thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you guys so much. 2024, Tuesday, next week, 2024, we're going to be watching the election just like you. Last time I went in the closet after the Tuesday night, Biden went on, he said, you know, based on what we see in the polling, we think we've got this. And I said, this guy is looking at a totally different polling record than I'm looking at because this does not look good. Everybody on CNN was somber. Everybody on MSC was somber. Everybody on Fox News was rejoicing. They were like, yes, we've got this one.
Biden and I saw the same thing. You guys were
my mother-in-law, she was walking around the house sighing. She said, Yahweh, what are you doing? Your people said this was going to happen, and it doesn't look right, Yahweh. And by that Friday, we were semi-rejoicing, and then that Saturday, Yahweh did it. Even Chad texted me. I remember Chad. Chad said that Thursday. Chad said, boy, because he didn't text me before. That Thursday, he texted me, said, boy, looks like Biden has this one. I said, yeah. I said, I was confident then.
Yes.
Tuesday, I was not confident. I said, Yahweh, you have to do something. But I was confident Thursday. Thursday, I was good. Tuesday, I was not good. But Thursday, I was good. Friday, I was all smiles. I was like, this is it.
Yes.
We're good. Saturday, I ran out.
Party time.
Party time. We party Saturday. We got all the food we could eat.
Thank you, Yahweh.
Thank you, Yahweh. You gave us a feast.
Yes.
So you know, we're going to party prior to, because this has already been laid out. We expect the Maharanian president to emerge.
We rejoice over Yahweh's truth.
That's it.
It's the only thing that's real.
That's the only thing that's real.
Yes.
And we did the same thing in 2016, you know, when Trump did win, because we prophesied that back in 2015.
Yes.
And he did win. He was surprised. We were surprised. But it happened according to Yahweh's timeline.
Yes, it did.
And the timeline is always right. So if he had said that this is going to go a different way, then we would prophesy whatever he says.
Whatever he says.
But we moved beyond the political. We just use this as a marker to show you that Yahweh is speaking and show you where you can get your sources from so that you can chart your way forward. So thank you very much for being a part of this episode. We Thank you that you've invited us into your home. We appreciate you. We love you so much.
Yes.
And yes, so look for us in between November, December of 2024. We promise you we're going to bring you one more episode. That one is going to be power packed, and it's going to be all about helping you secure biblically what Yahweh is telling you belongs to you in 2024, so that you can approach 2025 on top. We don't want you going into 2025 fasting in January saying, oh boy, I need Yahweh to do something for me. No. We want to get you the tools to get prepared in 2024 so that when 2025 comes, it's a season of rejoicing.
Amen.
It's a season of miracles and blessings, and Yahweh is doing great things for you. So thank you very much. We appreciate you. Thank you, Professor Joseph Coleman.
We give Yahweh
Thank
glory.
you, beautiful Sing. Thank you guys
glory.
for watching and bringing us into your home. Remember to like and share this with your friends, with your families, anybody who wants to know what's going on and what to expect in the election, and also for the next 8 years. Because we prophesy things that go all the way up to 2048.
That's right.
And we're going to continue to flesh that out as certain things happen. So we love you. We appreciate you. Keep your eyes on 1223, whether it's this year, next year, or the year after. Keep your eyes on that. And until then, until next time, stay in Yahweh's word and be blessed.
Yes.
Yahweh.
Shabbat
Be blessed.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Yes. Blessings and shalom.